Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, and therefore it's Norma Talks. And this is the first Wednesday. Just a minute. Sorry, I'm organizing something here. This is the first Wednesday of the month. So it's time to take a look at the tarot cards to see what is coming up this coming month for North America. This is the second month that I've done this first show live. And last time I realized, because I had forgotten that the camera that I use here turns everything around. So what I've done is, again, use my pictures, but moved everything around like it's supposed to. Made myself a little thing and figured it out. I'm hoping that we can follow through so that we can see exactly what this August brings. Now, if you've been following me, what you will have found is that I like flow in my readings. I like the things that move naturally and easily. I look for them in the personal readings I do for myself and for my clients. But I found it 1 month so far this year where there was flow, and I was very, very optimistic. If you have watched this regularly, you will remember that. I can't remember what month it was, but it was back about 3 months, I think. Lots of flow. It looked optimistic as heck. The last couple of months, everything was deceitful, behind doors, and I almost want to say the same thing is happening now, is that it is not out in the open. Now, I'm going to put this up here, and at the same time, I'm going to talk to you, because what you don't see is behind. I have how they appear for you. So I want you to follow with me. Now, the top line, remember this, I'm sorry, I should point out that this is what I call a shortened version of anyway, it's a reading that I do occasionally when I want to take a look at something, and I have opted to do this reading for these. And what we see here in the beginning is the Three of Cups, which is everyone's happy. Everyone feels really good. Now, we're already in the second, so I would say this is the fourth to the fifth. Everyone feels like, oh, everything's in its place. But followed by the Moon, which is the subconscious, deceit, emotional. To me, again, it shows we're not aware. The people are not aware of what's going on underneath. That there is planning. There is things wanting to be talked about, wanting to be figured out. And so to me, this again goes from optimism to uncertainty. But what I like about this is in the middle symbol on that top row is my favorite card, the Ace of Cups. New attitude, new awareness, new things happening, new things coming together. Now, how can we go from everything being underboard, where we don't know where it is, what's happening, to all of a sudden a new attitude? It's because somebody says something to bring an awareness to people. And so I would take that around the 8th, 9th month of the month, possibly as late as the 10th. I doubt it. I think it's earlier, as though there's this new awareness. And because of the Page of Cups following it, it then shows that this is a surprise and uncertainty. To some people, it will be a surprise. So a lot of shifting and changing in that, from 8th to 12th of the month. And then we get on the finishing up that top row is the Seven of Wands. Now, the Seven of Wands is usually uncertainty, fractions again, ideas coming against, having to defend your ideas or your goals and situations. So again, it doesn't really flow. It kind of goes up and down. If we were to scale this, if we would draw it, we would, feel great. It's not so good. We feel great. It's maybe. And then, oh my goodness, what's happening? And that brings us to the second row, which really goes through the 20s in a way, late teens, early 20s, through the 20s, sorry. What we're seeing here with the Four of Pentacles, money. What I saw when I first put these out and I looked at that, I thought, oh, money is going to be a large section of this latter part of the month, tightening up a sort of a restriction. And that is going to create confusion. So there's a lot of confusion in those middle 20s. I can't even specifically say because it kind of runs into each other. And so everyone's trying to figure out the money stuff. Money, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Where are we going? Now, right at the bottom, you'll see the star. The star to me represents balance, awareness. So there's a sense of either a calm voice, an awareness that comes in that kind of stabilizes everything. Because when you've got a nation or peoples, and this could be worldwide, really trying to figure out what's going on, what can happen is you need some stabilizing influence. And I really feel that's coming in, and it feels like about the 28th, 29th of August. Now, let's take a look at the Three of Cups, Four of Pentacles, and the Star. We go from joyousness to holding on, unsure, to then balancing everything out. I really liked it that this ended on the Star. On the other hand, what we have, what we have here is the Seven of Wands, Two of Pentacles, and the Star. So again, we've got uncertainty, but it will be balanced out. Everything ends up on the Star, the balance. Middle row, new attitude, new changes, new awarenesses, brings confusion, which often newness does, and then we create balance. This is a rocky month as far as I'm concerned. This is a month where it's like, those when you go to the gym and you walk up and down on those pedals. I don't know. I haven't been in the gym for years, so I don't know the machine. But I do know they kind of walk. And that's how I feel this month is. Everything's working, everything's not. Everything's working, everything's not. Up and down if we're going to get into the ideas of what's happening. One of the important elements in this time period, I think, for this month is to really make sure you are aware of what is happening, not only with the banking system, but the political system. Because remember, even though I live in Canada, this is for the North America, so it also covers the US because the US seems to influence us a lot. It's like worldwide, to be very aware of the influences. It's not a time to put your head in the sand, I don't think. I think it's just an awareness, being awareness, what's really happening underneath. Now, that's happened once or twice, 2 months ago, I think. We really saw the deceitfulness, things being made. I mean, actually, the moon brings that up again. Deals being made behind doors, which people are not aware of. So just all over the place in so many different ways. And what we need to be aware of in our own lives, because the outside affects the small life one has, but the small life can also, I don't mean small and tiny or forgotten, but our lives compared to the bigger picture is just a little dot. But it can have a tremendous effect if people are aware and not get sort of hoodwinked. The confusion level in here, right in the middle of those 20s, and when everything is up in the air. You see, like when we look at the tarot and then suits, we have two higher arcana cards, which is the Star, balancing everything good, and the Moon, which is not usually a little deceitful, emotional, kind of not being on track. We're not being in it's just can be a deceitful. But when we look at the wands, which how we think, both of them, confusion and uncertainty. When we look at the cups, which represent the value, whether you're happy or sad, it does show by changing your attitude, everything can be just fine. So there's no swords, no real, you see how do I explain this? When things aren't really clear, as a sword symbology usually is, you usually know if you're upset or if you're feeling resentful or if you're angry or whatever. But when it's all sort of hidden, It's very hard sometimes to determine those kind of things, because when we look at the pentacles, which is the manifestation into the material, all we are is holding close, holding tight, because we're unsure. So be flexible this month. Be flexible in the direction of where you're heading, what you're doing, where you're going. Most importantly, trust your instincts. Having your own instincts is really, really important. There's so much out there telling you how to be, how to feel, what to do. And in some ways, I may feel a little bit like that myself, because I'm, reporting on where it's happening and what's going on. But it's like knowing that you are in your driver's seat of boy, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. In the driver's seat of your life. You are the driver. Years ago, I had someone say to me, you are the star, the producer, and the director of your life. Are you doing that? Are you being the star? Are you being the producer? Are you being the director? And like many of us, I tend sometimes to give my power to others, like okay, well, all right, I'll go along with that. But it's like it's consent. And very often in our society, we will give consent for the way things are because we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to get into arguments with our families or even in our society of, this is the way we're supposed to think. I think sometimes we're told what to think, how to be, what to do. I know as a child, I certainly was. And I think society does that. And especially in this last few years, where censorship, where we can't say a word, we're right or you're wrong, lots of division. I think this is where that balance of the star is. I love the star vibration. It's one I endeavor to be, because it's about you being there and balancing all your knowledge that you have inside. And that just brings me to that point of saying, you are more than just what you are here. Through your past lives or future lives, all your lives, you have been gathering knowledge. Now, I do admit many people just keep recreating the same issues, the same decisions, the same contracts, the same oaths, the same vows over and over and over again. And I'm finding that more and more, where we maybe make the same decision, and because it's a habit. And so we have habits in our own lives right now, where we make a habit stance, where we respond the same way without thinking. It's like instantaneous. Those are the things we need to be aware of. Those are the things we need to see. Are we being like we've been for a long, long time? When I'm doing a past life regression workshop and using a technique that I was given many, many years ago, where I look at the stars in the sky saying, these are your lives. Some people have mega lives. Like when mega stars, beautiful skies. Some only have a few. I had a lot. And it was about moving through those, finding the patterns. And we tend to create patterns, just like in life. We make a decision and we tend to act it out. We tend to act out what has gone before. And so when we take a look at what's happening in our world today, when there's a, it's almost like a massive change into lifestyle, into beliefs, into who has the power and who doesn't have the power, because power is shifting. It's happened before many, many, many times, where people go for, you might say, control of the world. The thing is, do we have control over us? My major concern is always with our individual element of our own being. And that's because I had to work on that. And I still have to work on that. But it's like, where are we? Are we like the star, where we take our knowledge from previous times? Or even, I always say previous, because for years it was always past life regressions. And then I realized, hey, we have future lives as well. And so it's like adding that together and recognizing what we can do and how we can be. We all need to be happy. We all need to have an understanding of what's happening. Many things we have no control over. But one thing I do know, When enough minds get together and believe in the same thing, it has an effect. When we all kind of just lie down and say, oh, well, whatever, and don't stand up, don't say things, what happens is that then we get what we deserve, maybe, because it's like there are times when we have to look inside our hearts, look inside our experiences. How many have we how many times have we been through where one faction of peoples has dominated another faction or the other? And if you're like me and you've read a lot of historical books, what you will find, that is often what takes place. And why are they written? Is because not only have people studied history, and history has a tendency to repeat itself, but also they have a knowing because they've lived through them. They've lived through the changes. Just look at the Middle Ages in England. And if you have British blood at all, you have that memory when there was great strife in the country. They had lots of wars, lots of people contesting. And I don't go on much about blood and about our lines, but the blood carries a lot of information besides what they do in a blood test. There's a lot of information in there. And some people are very, very keen on your bloodline. Who are you? Where are you? Where have you come from? And if you're not taught about your genetics, which happens to be a personal, what can you say, delight of mine. If I was probably really educated, I would have really, one of the things I would have followed looking at was genetics. Because I would look around my large family and I would see traits and I would see similarities, and the other times, no similarities at all. So it's like where and how life is right now. And when I look at this month coming up right here, it's not a flow. There is fight. It could be more. There's no swords in there. There's no five of swords, which is that argumentative stuff. It's all subliminal. It's all hidden. It's all behind closed doors. If I remember right, I said that either last month or the month before. There are fractions, you might say, fractions of people fighting behind doors for supremacy, for having it their way. And a lot of us like that. We want things our way. We'll go our way, please. So anyway, it's August. The sun is shining. We have fires in the neighborhood now, so sometimes we have a smoke. We have whatever. So there is an acceptance level of what is happening. Yes. And we work accordingly to that. But the key is to remember you are your own person. You have depth. You have made decisions since the moment you were born, or long before that, actually. But you've made decisions that affect your life. And so it is with every person you meet. They are on their trajectory. They're on their path. They're on their awareness. And this month of August, it's like looking at where do I stand and what do I want to do about it, if anything. Maybe there's nothing one can do. One can just accept, but be aware, please, that there are far greater circumstances going on that you may not be aware of. And so it's a matter of just really making yourself balanced, acceptance, aware, being aware, I think, of who you are and the effect you have in your environment, of where you are and where you've been. So I want to thank you for listening to this, and I'm just going to go to my chat element here. And I just, as I have to peer, because, okay, the first person whose name I have a little difficulty, but I have two alternative medicine practitioners in hand, Isa Wands, and I don't know what that is. Geez, can you see which of these would be more harmful? Oh, I see. Oh, I'm not answering questions here. I'm being philosophy. Monday night at 7, when I do my mental mind treatment, is when I do that. I don't know. I really feel that AW might be a little more effective. And I'll just give you that. Karen Lee, thank you, dear. Thanks, Norma. Was looking forward to this. I hope that was satisfactory. I feel a little bit scattered because this is scattered. And Nippy, when there's no flow, I teach tarot that we do, what's the word I'm looking for? We do linkage words, so that we go from this step to that step to the other step. And so we make a flow of things. We make a story. This story is not easy because it is up, down, in and out. Everything's fine, it's not fine. We change our attitude, and then we have to deal with all sorts of other things. There's uncertainty, and then we hold tight because we're confused, and then we're not sure. And then we take a breath right near the end of August going into September, where we pull things together. Not an easy read, I'll tell you. I wouldn't want to give actually, I should keep this sometime and give it to a pile of novices that have it. How do you make that story work? Because that's what it is all about, making it work. No, thank you, Marion. Not doing word change today. But anyhow, it's interesting to recognize that life is amazing in the direction of where we're heading and where we're going. So I wish you well for this month. Now, next Wednesday, I have to be somewhere else at 9:00 in the morning. So I'm going to pre-tape this with Zoom and put it up either late Tuesday or early Wednesday before I leave. So it'll be more of the old style of what we did. Why I wanted to switch to direct is because sometimes I get a little confused with all the bits and pieces I have to do that. So otherwise, we'll be back for Sunday Thought, and I'll be here Monday, of course, for Mental Mind Treat with no problems. I really want to thank you for taking a sense of direction. And I just love this chat line. I could probably sit here and chat forever because the people who know me, I talk a lot. Karen Lee says, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, it's been happening for a few months now. And I just think that it's like a curtain or a cloud that they put out there that most of us are not aware of that if we weren't able to look behind. And Marion says, I totally agree. Great readings, Norma. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Lots of blessings. And thanks for the subscriptions. Thanks for the referral, like the shares, everything. Wish you well. Blessings. See you on Sunday for Sunday Thought.